Molly Hughes in the Denver Post newsroom with a special Behind the Headlines. Today, our guest is one of the latest accusers of Bill Cosby. She's a Colorado woman who came forward in February, joining dozens of other women who say they were drugged and then sexually assaulted by the Hollywood superstar. Heidi Thomas joins us now. You live in Colorado. You grew up here. You're now a music teacher. Tell us a little bit about how you met Mr. Cosby to begin with.
I was pursuing a degree. I was pursuing acting as a career. My agent here in Denver called and said, there is an icon in the entertainment industry who is interested in mentoring you, in giving you some acting coaching, and I wasn't even told who it was right away. Very quickly, things escalated. They finally told me that the mysterious Mr. C that they had told me about was Bill Cosby. He called my home. I was 24 years old, living with my parents. He called and was exactly what you'd expect. He was friendly and nonchalant, and I'm looking forward to meeting you and seeing what we can do to further your career and help you out. I was flown to Reno, Nevada by my agent. I was given a hotel room by my agency and went to Reno expecting 4 days of acting coaching. Instead, I was picked up at the airport by a car. The driver said, "There's been a change of plan. Mr. Cosby had a friend who has loaned him his ranch house. So it's more convenient. There's no paparazzi. It's quiet. He can sleep during the day. He does running around, and he can run around this ranch house and not have to worry about the public." Made perfect sense. I was shown where my room was. That was the first time I knew that I wasn't going to be staying in the hotel. Okay. So I took my things in. I was told to get settled, come back out, bring stage makeup, bring hair accoutrements, bring the monologue I had brought, and we'd get started. So I came out and I was ready to do my monologue. I performed it for him. He wasn't very impressed. I wasn't too upset. I figured, well, I'm just this little actress from Denver and this is Bill Cosby. Of course he's not impressed. And he said, let's try a cold read. So he gave me a script to look at right there on the spot. It took place in a bar, and clearly I was supposed to be an intoxicated woman. He said, "Heidi, have you ever been drunk?" I said, "No, not really." He said, "Well, then how do you expect to be able to play a role like this?" And I said, "Well, I do have a college degree, and I've seen several inebriated people in my day, and I'm drawing from that." And he said, that's not going to be acceptable. "If you had something to drink, what would it be?" I said, "Maybe a glass of white wine." He poured this glass of white wine and said, "Okay, use this as a prop. Obviously, you'll have to sip on it because you're in a bar. So use it as a prop." And the thing that now stuns me is that I think I maybe had one sip, maybe. It was, whatever that was so powerful, I don't remember the reading at all after that. And then there are 4 days of time that I was in Reno, and I have little snapshots, little snippets, pictures in my head, about 3 or 4 of them. But I don't remember most of the trip.
From what I understand, you do remember waking up in someone's bed naked.
I wasn't naked. He was. I do remember. I almost wonder now if there's something in your brain that triggers like a survival instinct and says, you need to be aware of this. You need to know this is happening. Because I did. I awoke to find him completely naked. I was in a bed. I still had my clothes on. He didn't. Things were pretty graphic, and I have a very, very clear memory of that. I have a very clear memory when he told me that we were going to be doing this again. I remember thinking, first of all, how did I get here? What did I say? How did it happen that he thinks that this is acceptable? It was classic victim mentality where I assumed I had done something wrong. And and I hoped I wasn't going to throw up on his bed because I was so nauseous. So when he indicated that this was going to be continuing.
What was going to be continuing? The rehearsals or
oh no,
the
whatever
scene in
was
the bed?
happening in the bed was going to keep going on. I remember getting out of the bed. I remember it being very fuzzy, very hazy. I don't remember getting back to my room. I don't remember that. That's kind of that little snapshot, that little moment in time.
Mm-hmm. And then?
And then I couldn't, who am I going to tell? There were no cell phones. I don't remember even seeing a phone in the house. I had no idea where I was. So if I had called, if I had found a phone, I don't know what I would have told them.
Mm-hmm.
And if I had seen a phone, I'm still thinking I've done something wrong.
Mm-hmm. Is that how you felt for the last 30 years? Because you just came out recently in February.
No. I think I realized fairly early on, no, this wasn't, I didn't do anything wrong.
The Denver Post contacted Mr. Cosby's attorney and his publicist, but both declined to comment on Thomas's allegations. Criminal charges have never been filed against Mr. Cosby. In fact, you've said that the modeling agency, which asked you to keep this all a secret, actually set up other women to be in the same position. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you find that out?
Certainly when people started coming forward last fall, Barbara Bowman was one of the very first to really start coming forward, and she came forward first as a Jane Doe. She was from Denver and was with the same agency. Beth Ferrier was with the same agency. I am sure there are others. Mm-hmm. There are many people who won't come forward for the stigma. There are many people who have family who don't want them to come forward. They feel that it's a blot on the family, which of course, again, puts it back on the victim as though we've done something wrong. Mm-hmm. My family has been nothing but supportive, and that's why I came forward.
At what point did you tell your family? You have 3 adult daughters now. Yes. And a husband of 20-some years. Mm-hmm. At what point did you break the news, and what prompted you to do so?
Having 3 daughters, I spoke to their pediatrician probably 20 years ago and said, how do I deal with this? Do I tell them? Do I leave it a secret? I certainly don't want this to happen to them, but I don't want them horrified. So between my pediatrician and my husband and myself, we told each girl separately when we felt that that particular girl was ready. It was something along the line of, as a young woman growing up, you need to be aware that you do everything you can to keep yourself safe, you are responsible, and things can still happen. Just car accidents happen, accidents happen. These kinds of things can happen. I wanted the message to be more about things can happen to you in life and you will be okay. You will move on. It doesn't have to change your whole life and be a disaster.
What prompted you to go public with this?
In the fall, when there were so many more women coming forward, and it was still, well, she must be a hooker, or she's out for the attention, or she's out to try and extort some money. It was all about why these women would suddenly be all coming forward at the same time. And I wanted to support them. I wanted to come forward and say, no, they're telling the truth. I know they are. I didn't think I was going to be believed any more than any of those ladies, but I wanted them to know there's one more person who has your back, who understands what you've been through, and who believes you, just for the support.
And then just recently, for the July issue of New York Magazine, your sisterhood all got together for a big photo shoot, right? What was that like to finally be in a space with women who share something that nobody else really has, right, except for the victims or the accusers who may still be out there?
Some women said it was cathartic. It was tear-filled for some. For me, it was gratifying. It was a bit of, you know, I'm not alone in this. And not only am I not alone, because I came to terms with that long ago. I didn't realize I wasn't alone until some of the rumors started flying, and it makes you think, oh, maybe this wasn't an isolated incident. But having everybody there and not having to explain anything, and not having, and it's classic, but not having the why did you wait so long to come forward question. Everyone in that room understood that. So it was comfortable. It was as though we'd all known each other for years.
And were all their stories just like yours?
Those of us who were looking towards an entertainment career, the stories are almost identical. It's eerie. So when you ask, are the stories similar, it depends on where you were, what your career was doing, what your career desires were. He was a predator of opportunity, and he would find people. He's brilliant. He's a brilliant comedian. And I think it's because of his intelligence that he was able to pull off the chameleon, the hiding in plain sight, perfect crime. It's frightening how good he was, and it's because he's smart.
Many of these women who have come forward, statute of limitations have long passed, and because of that, you're all referred to by the media as accusers, just instead of victims. I have no reason to doubt your story, but does that bother you?
Well, personally, it doesn't bother me because I stopped being a victim 30 years ago when I made the conscious decision that this was not going to affect my life. I was going to go on with the life goals I had made, and one person wasn't going to derail that. And ever since I made that conscious choice, I haven't identified as a victim. So I don't have a problem with being an accuser. I don't think it'll ever change. For those who say the Cosby women are, whatever, attention hounds, media hounds, we have nothing to gain. Nothing. He will probably never see the inside of a courtroom again. I doubt he will see jail time. I don't think he'll ever be charged. We have no evidence. He left no trace, and we have no memories. We can't even tell our stories. So I want to make sure that this doesn't become a template for the perfect crime.
Is there something that you want to say to him if you were able to see him again? What would you say?
I did say at one point, do you remember any of us? Do you remember our faces? Do you remember looking in our eyes and seeing drugged blankness? I can't imagine interpreting that as an acceptance for what was going on. That's not consensual. That's drugged. And for anybody to be so narcissistic that they honestly believe that they can read minds of a person who is drugged, that's bordering on insane. I'd like to know if you remember any of us at all.